put back on record, the time is 12:50 p.m.
When you acquired the property in Northport, do you know what the policy was for inspecting the smoke detectors, inspecting the dates on the smoke detectors?
It would be similar to the turn completed in 2015. And so the way our acquisitions process works is typically, any inspections pre-acquisition that take place run through our investment management group. I don't know specifically, though, whether this home was acquired through foreclosure auction or standard REO deal throughout the month. So as far as the policy, though, yeah, it would have been, I think this was 2013, so it would have been very similar to 2015.
Well, so I was a little confused by your testimony. Was there a policy, well, actually, let me ask you first. Do you know if there was a policy for checking the date on the smoke detectors in 2015 whenever there was a turn?
There was not a formalized policy, which we noted earlier. It was basically, guidance based on local municipalities and, making sure we try to do the right thing based on observations and our scope.
Tell me what the procedure was for a turn in 2015.
Move out takes place. We would send a superintendent to go out, complete a scope of work. There would be a GC assigned. They would go through the checklist, which we've gone through prior to signing off on any turn. Verifying all the work that we indicated needs to be completed is completed. If there are any deficiencies, address the deficiencies prior to signing off on the home.
Would a expired smoke alarm be a deficiency?
Check to form, you can answer.
If we inspect and determine that the smoke detector needs to be replaced, we would replace it. That would be considered a deficiency, which would be addressed in the scope of work.
Sure. In terms of evaluating whether a mechanical item needs to be replaced, don't you have to look at the item and test the item?
Sure, you could say that.
Sure. So
Yeah.
like if you were evaluating whether a stove was working, you would probably want to look at the stove and test the stove, right?
Check to form, you can answer.
Yeah, I mean, any mechanical items, like we encourage our teams to, if it moves, move it, test it. That's running all the plumbing, turning the stove on, any sort of HVAC, making sure we're checking that. So any mechanical items, we would want to, test anything that we can.
Sure. And with the smoke alarm, wouldn't you want to look as part of the inspection of the smoke alarm? Wouldn't you want to look and see what the date is on the smoke alarm?
Well, I think, as I stated earlier, we want to test and make sure the smoke detector is working, and ideally, that includes checking the functionality and dates and anything that comes up through the scope process.
Sure. So there's another type of document that I noticed. I'll attach this as Plaintiff's Exhibit 18. And it's called a request detail. Oops. Now this is one for January 26, 2022. Do you see that?
I do.
And I think this is, well, would you agree that this is a ProCare visit?
Yeah, this is another version, a downloadable version of a work order detail.
Okay, is this on the same system, or is this a different system?
The same system. It's actually the same work order we discussed earlier. That's work order B79-36675.
Okay.
So this would be the first post-move-in, the post-move-in visit, the first ProCare visit for Mr. Rhodes.
Thank you. I want to show you another visit. Shall attach is Plaintiff's Exhibit 19. This is for 1/26/2022. Is this another ProCare visit?
This, yeah, this appears to be a separate work order. This is B823902. Was created 1/26/2022. Scheduled start time would be July 5th, 2022. So it appears as though this is a ProCare work order that's the 6-month visit that would have been created at completion of the 45-day visit, which was the first ProCare visit.
Okay, and did this ProCare visit take place?
Yes, this ProCare visit, B823902, was marked landlord resolved. They checked in on it was marked complete on July 5th, 2022, which was the initial scheduled date.
How long was that technician there?
Let's see, have the check-in, check-out detail. Try to find it. This has scheduled start time and end time. I think in a subsequent work order, we might have the checkout, the check-in and check-out detail. I just see the complete detail on this one. Let me see here. Arrived at 1:22 p.m. on July 5th. And I think we said the scheduled completion time was 3:03 p.m. So he arrived at 1:22 p.m. and it looks like he marked the visit completed at 3:03 p.m. So he was there over 90 minutes.
Okay. Let me show you another one. Now, and that, before I go to the next one, in that ProCare visit, is there any mention of the smoke detectors?
This does not have the check-in, check-out question, so I don't see any detail on this one mentioning the smoke detectors.
So what was the date of service on that one?
July 5th, 2022.
think I may have skipped one, 11/19/2021.
That was the move-in date. And so the first, I think we went over the first ProCare visit was created 11/20/2021, which was B793675.
Okay.
And that one was completed on 1/26/2022.
Thank you. Let me show you another one. I think this is a January 6, 2023, which I'll attach as Plaintiff's Exhibit 20. And this looks like a check-in, check-out. Do you know what this visit was for?
This says service category ProCare recurring maintenance. This is B8967897. That's the work order number. Call time July 5th, 2022, 4:08 p.m. And the scheduled start time 1/6/2023. So this would have been a third ProCare visit scheduled at the completion of the 6-month visit on July 5th, 2022 for 6 months later on 1/6/2023.
Now, for all the ProCare visits that were performed at the property, did Mr. Rhodes ever not cooperate with any ProCare visit?
Well, I would say that given that we completed a 45-day visit, we completed a 6-month visit, and we completed another visit, which is the third visit 6 months following that, I would say he allowed us entry to the home, and it looks like, based on what I have here, that he cooperated with scheduling the visit.
Thank you. And in preparation for today's deposition, did you review the work orders on the property?
I reviewed all the work orders that we've gone over and the work orders that were provided.
Okay, now in terms of any repairs that may have needed to be done, would you agree that Mr. Rhodes cooperated with any repairs that needed to be done as well?
You know, we have, based on what we reviewed, I think that we were able to get into the home, and that anything that we're aware of that he reported, it looks like he cooperated. I don't have any detail that shows he didn't cooperate with us for these visits. I know there's a more detailed, extensive work order history, but we're reviewing the ProCare.
You're talking about the Excel spreadsheet?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that brings me to my next question, because I was looking at the Excel spreadsheet, and it doesn't look like I have every visit for every. I don't care about the pool service and stuff like that, but
of course,
there are some things that I didn't see the ProCare. I didn't see the ProCare visit, but I could see where there was different things done at the property. Do you know why those documents might be missing?
I know when we merged and integrated in 2018, 2019, which is around the time we instituted the initial ProCare policy, 2019, we switched over to Lesson at that time. And so a lot of the work order documents prior to that time, we don't have access to. Those would have been in Yardi or via email. And so we don't have access to the work orders in that system. That would have been pre-2018, 2019.
so I want to go to, the last one I think we just looked at was 2023, but I want to go to July 7th, 2022, and I'll attach this record as Plaintiff's Exhibit 21. Okay, so I want to spend some time on these documents, and I have quite a few questions. So if you want, take a moment and look through them. I'm going to ask you some questions.
Okay.
Okay, good. Did you have an opportunity to
Yeah,
review it?
I've reviewed this one.
Okay, great. And it looks like Mr. Rhodes had called in an issue with the smoke detector. Is that right?
That's correct. He called it in on July 7th, 11:47 a.m. And the troubleshooting questions that he answered, this was categorized as electrical lighting for smoke and carbon monoxide alarm. And then he also provided additional detail in the service requests. These are statements from the resident. It says the one in the front entryway continuously is slowly beeping every few seconds, and when we took it off the wall, it's from 2012. So it could just be older.
Okay, and this was done this work order was done in 2022.
This work order was called in July 7th, 2022, and completed July 19th, 2022.
So if Mr. Rhodes was correct in the date, if you had read the date correctly, on the smoke detector that was beeping, that smoke detector would have been about 10 years old.
If he's correct in stating that it was 2012, that's accurate. At this point, it would have been 10 years old.
And it would have been time to replace it, right?
Check to form.
Sorry.
Yeah, if we noticed it, our maintenance tech noticing that would have replaced this smoke detector.
Well, they did replace it, right?
Yeah, they did replace it.
Okay. Do you agree with that they should have replaced it? Or do you think they should have just put a new battery in it?
I think he replaced it. That's what he should have done.
And the tech that did that, that was an employee of Invitation Homes?
That's correct.
It says, in-house technician.
That's correct.
Is that something that would typically be done, or that could be done at that time by an in-house technician?
Replacing a smoke detector?
Yeah.
Yes.
And at that time, how many days did it take Invitation Homes to get to that repair?
Call time was July 7th. It was completed July 19th, so 12 days.
Okay, now we talked earlier, wouldn't that be outside of the recommended days that you would like to fix a smoke detector or replace a smoke detector?
Policy we reviewed says we shoot to replace in 7 days.
So that would be 5 days past that, right?
That's right.
And in terms of the caller, was there an indication that it was Mr. Rhodes himself that called it in?
Created by Tyler Rhodes. So, yes, he created the work order. Would have been either via call or online.
Now, is that, in your opinion, as a corporate rep, is that what you want? Like if there is a smoke detector that was beeping, that was out of date, would you want the tenant to call Invitation Homes and report that so it could be replaced?
Check the form, you can answer.
Yeah, as documented in the lease agreement, residents' responsibility is to inspect and replace batteries, report any potential deficiencies. And so I would want the resident in this case to report if he observed any potential issues with the equipment.
Okay. So Mr. Rhodes' actions as it pertains to this issue, you would view as responsible?
I believe he called it in, which is great. I also noticed that in his additional details, the smoke detector appears to have been unplugged, as it says, when he took it off the wall. And so, like, not knowing how long it was removed, you know, I think he did the right thing in reporting it. We'll never know, you know, how long the...
You understand, though, to check the date, you have to take it off the wall.
Check the form.
Now we write the dates on, and so you do have to remove it to see the manufacturer date on the inside. And so now, you know, as we instituted the new policy, we actually write the dates on the outside.
Well, that would be quicker, but
Yeah.
but with this smoke alarm, well, I can show you pictures of the other smoke alarms if you like, but there's nothing written on the outside, and the dates, you have to do like a quarter turn, and then you have to lift it off from the wall, and then you have to look at the date, right?
Check the form.
Not necessarily. You could write it on the side of the smoke detector where it's visible, or you could write it on the front of the smoke detector.
Well, I understand that, but if it's not written on the front of the smoke detector, how would someone check the date?
You would remove it and check the manufacturer date.
Okay.
I guess I'm differentiating
So, I mean, are
the
you
date
saying
we
that?
write currently as our process to be able to quickly identify when the last time we replaced the smoke detector. You know, following instituting the policy in April 2022, you know, this was July 2022, and so this smoke detector clearly was existing, and Mr. Rhodes would have had to take that off to see the date.
Okay. Nothing irresponsible about that, right?
I mean, nothing that I can see that's evidence here. You know, there is concern when smoke detectors are removed completely. But
Sure, but I mean, you don't know from, what do you know if he actually completely removed it, or if he just removed the smoke detector and it was still attached by the wire?
all I can go by is the notes here, which say, from Mr. Rhodes, the one in the front entryway continuously is slowly beeping every few seconds. And when we took it off the wall, it's from 2012, so I'm assuming he took it, or his roommate took it off the wall.
I know, but you know, it doesn't say that he detached the wiring, right?
Not necessarily, it just says he took it off the wall.
So you don't know if he detached the wiring or not.
Check the form.
It doesn't give that specific detail. It just says that he took it off the wall.
Understood. Okay, and when the technician came to 12 days later to inspect the smoke detector, was Mr. Rhodes present?
Yes, he would have been present.
So he cooperated with making sure that he was present when the service tech came?
Check the form.
Either Mr. Rhodes or his roommate would have been present. We wouldn't have done the work on the interior of the home without somebody on the lease present.
Sure. Now, in terms of the response letter label that was attached to this, it was marked as urgent, right? I think it's on the 4th page. Left side.
Yes, response workflow, response window, urgent.
Why would it take 12 days to address something that was urgent?
Could depend on scheduling challenges, capacity challenges. It could be a number of things. Obviously, the goal is to get on site within 7 days.
And the tech took a photograph of the situation.
There is a photograph of the smoke detector that was replaced.
Okay.
I believe in the check. It's in the
There's
check-in, check-out.
Yeah, and there's a photograph of the back, but that we received as part of production. I think it's on the last page.
Yeah, it's in the check-in, check-out. Yeah, I think you printed a
Yeah,
larger
there's
copy. It's
one.
kind of hard to see.
It's too pixelated though. Do you know if you have the original JPEG?
I remember reviewing this picture, so.
Do you know if there was like a date that you could see on the picture?
Yeah, I remember it saying 2012.
Okay. And then there's a little, you see like the little door on the back, on the last page, on the back of the smoke detector. That's where you put the
Yes.
9-volt battery.
I can't tell from the picture.
So I want to show you another detail, which was it's the PDF version, I guess. I think that's what you called it earlier. And I'll attach this as Plaintiff's Exhibit 22. Is this basically a different version of the same thing?
This is the same work order reference. That's B8979843.
And on this one, there's some photographs on the 3rd and 4th page.
That's right.
And it looks like it's on a vaulted ceiling.
That's correct.
Okay. And then there's another photograph on the last page with another smoke detector. It looks like it's installed with a yellowish green light.
That's right.
So would that be like proof of him replacing the smoke detector?
I believe so. I believe this is the new smoke detector that he replaced.
And the fact that this photo is attached, would that indicate to you that the smoke alarm that was being referenced is the one on the vaulted ceiling?
Appears to be the case, as it looks like the picture of the smoke detector removed, not plugged in, and it appears to be that location.
So let me show you. So keep looking at that photograph of the smoke detector that's up there. I want to show you an exhibit. So I taken the deposition of Mr. Fraser. Did you read his deposition transcript in preparation for your deposition today?
I did not read his full deposition transcript.
Did you read any parts of his deposition transcript?
I don't believe so.
Have you read any deposition transcripts in this case?
I have read some of my transcript and Jim's.
Jim Staples?
James Staples, yeah.
Is there anything that you disagreed with that Jim Staples testified about that you think was wrong?
Check the form.
I didn't read the full deposition document, so it's hard to tell.
Was there any part that you did read that you remember saying or thinking, oh, wow, that's wrong that he testified to? Or perhaps he misrepresented something in his
No,
deposition?
not that I read, but once again, I didn't read the entire transcript.
Okay, so I took the deposition of Mr. Fraser, and he testified, and I'll attach these photographs as Plaintiff's Exhibit 24. He testified that this smoke alarm was the one for the vaulted ceiling. And if you look at the photograph, if you look at the second page, and then look at the second page of the installed one, do you agree that it looks like the same one?
Really hard to tell because this one's burnt.
Are you looking at the different pages?
I'm looking at these two right here.
Okay, what does it seem to be a similar model? You see a circle, the acoustic part is very similar.
Check the form.
It's just too tough for me to tell. I can't tell the brand. I mean, it's burnt so bad. And then looks like a kitty. I think I see K-I-D-D. The only thing I don't see on this one that I see on this one is a square branding that says always on, because this is more of a close-up versus this one is
Further
not
away.
as close-up of a picture. So.
Understood. So you can't tell if it's the same one or not? Or a
It's
similar
hard.
one?
It's tough for me to tell.
Okay.
I wasn't there.
Well, between the time where the smoke detector was replaced by Invitation Homes technician, are you aware of any other smoke detectors being installed in the vaulted ceiling portion of the residence?
I'm not aware of any other smoke detectors being installed or reported between the date when this one was installed and the incident.
Okay. Would it be, if a technician for Invitation Homes knew that one smoke detector was expired, wouldn't it be reasonable for that technician to look at the other smoke detectors to see if the other ones are expired as well?
Check the form, foundation.
The policy says we want them to inspect, and so like as part of our ProCare policy, you know, we want them to inspect every smoke detector, and so if they identify issues, we want them to take action. And so, hard for me to speculate. Once again, I wasn't there on, you know, observations that might have took place with the model of the smoke detector and others.
And I understand you weren't there, but you're the corporate rep, so I want to know, you know, what would have been the expectation for a technician? You go to a home, in 2022, mid-2022, you see that the smoke detector is expired and having a problem, and you decide, I better replace that smoke detector, seems reasonable. But wouldn't it be also reasonable to say, maybe I'll look at the other smoke detectors to see if they're expired as well, because maybe I need to change those.
Check the form, and can you tell us what you mean by expired?
Sure, the smoke detectors are good for 10 years, right? We talked about that.
Yeah, so in this case, this is a work order that was called in separately from a ProCare visit. And so this was called in, I believe, July 7th, completed the 19th. And so this work order was specific to, replacing or repairing based on the diagnosis the smoke detector impacted. And so as part of ProCare visits, as outlined in our policy, or any other work orders or maintenance visits, we certainly want our teams to make sure they're inspecting the equipment, and part of that is inspecting the smoke detectors.
Thank you. If I look at those
This one?
burned out pictures, yeah, that's right there. Tell me about any training that the Invitation Homes technicians do as it pertains to the compatibility of smoke detectors.
Compatibility, just referring to specific smoke detectors syncing up?
Yeah, so you're aware that in this property that it was a wired system with a battery backup. You agree with that?
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, based on what I see here.
Okay.
It's wired.
Did you know that the Kitty system, the Kitty smoke detector that was installed is not compatible with all other types of smoke detectors?
No.
So was there any sort of training to train technicians on which type of smoke detectors may not be compatible with other smoke detectors? Or was there a person for them to call in case they had a question about compatibility between smoke detectors?
Majority of the training that we conduct is part of the ProCare policy, the smoke detector policy. Additionally, we have monthly alignment and field team meetings where we go through certain safety topics. And typically, smoke detectors and other safety topics are part of those trainings and discussions.
Would that include the compatibility of smoke detectors?
I don't know.
Who would have information about that area, if you don't know?
James Staples, he would know. And so I don't recall specific commentary around compatibility. I don't want to speculate, so it's hard for me to definitively say that compatibility is part of that discussion.
Now, if there was a warning on the Kitty fire detector or smoke alarm that it was incompatible with other types of smoke alarms, would you expect, or was it the policy of Invitation Homes, that a technician should look at that and before installing a potentially incompatible smoke alarm?
If there was a warning on the documentation on the packaging of the smoke detector or the installation guide?
On the installation guide or or any labels that are affixed to the smoke detector?
Yeah, I mean, I would expect that our teams are operating within the policies and everything that's reviewed in our training, and that includes, you know, installation of smoke detectors. And
Were you aware that this unit in particular had a warning that stated, "This unit is only approved to interconnect with other Kitty Nighthawk products. It is not approved to interconnect with any other brand of detection product"?
no,
Would you agree that if such a warning appeared, that a technician should look at the other smoke detector to see if it was also the same type of Kitty Nighthawk product?
I believe part of the technician inspecting the equipment, you know, is making sure that the equipment is functional. And primarily, we use Kitty product.
Were you aware that the other smoke detectors are not Kitty?
I'm not aware of the details.
Were you aware that the other smoke detectors were made by Firex smoke alarms?
I don't have documentation of manufacturer of all the smoke detectors in the home.
I'll attach this as Plaintiff's Exhibit 25. And I have other photographs as well, but they're all marked Firex.
Fire X.
You weren't aware of that?
Aware of what?
That the other smoke detectors were Firex?
I was not aware of I'm not aware of the manufacturer of every smoke detector in each home.
Were you aware in reviewing, well, let me ask you, did you review Mr. Fraze's deposition transcript or portions thereof where he stated that when he examined the smoke detectors, that the dates on the smoke detectors that he examined except for the vaulted one, the one on the vaulted ceiling, were dated to October 2004?
I did not review all the details of his deposition transcript.
And at the time of this fire, that would have made the smoke detectors 19 years old.
Check to form.
Is that right?
Math
Check
seems
form.
correct.
Is that under the policies and procedures for invitation homes and/or
HR Property Management.
thank you.
Or the defendants.
There you go. I'll just say the defendants, how's that? Would it be the expectation of Invitation Homes Realty LLC and/or THR Property Management and/or the landlord 2018-3 IH borrower to replace a smoke detector that was 9 years over its expiration date?
Check to form.
If we're conducting, the policy was April 2022 that was formalized. If we're conducting a rehab or a turn after the institution of that policy, these smoke detectors would have been inspected and replaced under the policy. This being an occupied unit, you know, we're relying on the resident with their obligation to the lease, in a sense, to report any issues with equipment, whether it be batteries or equipment not working.
Where does it say in the lease that the tenant is required to check the date on the smoke detector?
It just says in the lease that they're responsible for replacing batteries and maintaining equipment. It doesn't specify checking the date.
Sure. Were you aware that part of the issue with the age, and this is according to the deposition of your own expert, Christian Fraza, that the issue is with the age is the ionization, that the detector, which is an ionization, it diminishes with time. So it really has nothing to do with the battery. It's just It's a mechanical failure and the ionization degrades over time.
Check
Were
the
you
form.
aware of that?
He's the expert. I'm not the expert, and the policy is in place with a 10-year lifespan for a reason.
Sure. But how would a tenant know what the ionization is if no one's checking the dates on the back of the smoke alarms?
I don't know that a tenant would, or a resident would be an expert in that either.
Regardless if your policy was in place in 2022 about turns and rehabs, you would agree that it's the responsibility of Invitation Homes Realty LLC and THR Property Management to ensure that there are working smoke alarms in their rental premises, true?
That's
Check the form.
That's correct. We're testing the equipment in occupied visits as referenced in our ProCare policy, but that doesn't specify removing all of the smoke detectors. It's testing to make sure there aren't issues and, confirming the equipment is operating.
Sure, and part of that testing would be for a technician to take 2 seconds, the time it takes to turn it and look at it, as part of an inspection, right?
Check the form.
Not necessarily. There's a button on many smoke detectors that you can press to test.
Does the button tell you how old the smoke detector is?
I don't believe so.
Does the button tell you whether or not there's enough ionization for the smoke detector to detect smoke particles or particulates?
Not that I'm aware of.
And so that's why these manufacturers, the UL recommends that the date is checked and that they're replaced every 10 years, right?
Check the form.
I don't know.
I want to ask you another question about, let me find it first. Is it important to tell the truth?
Of course.
There is an affidavit that was, I believe, signed by you, which I'll attach as Plaintiff's Exhibit 26. I only have one copy, but I'm sure you're familiar with it.
This is the affidavit that's been amended.
I don't know about an amended one. That's the affidavit that I have.
Yeah, this has been amended.
Okay. And it looks like this was dated December 4th, 2025.
That's right.
Do you mind if I take a look at that real quick? So this was filed, there was a motion for summary judgment that was filed by Mr. Howe, and this was attached as an exhibit. And I was interested in a particular statement. It's paragraph 14, and it states, "At no point during the decedent's tenancy under the rental agreement or renewal rental agreement did the decedent report any issues with respect to the smoke and carbon monoxide detectors at the property to landlord. Let me show this to you.
Okay.
And you signed this affidavit under penalty of perjury?
Okay.
What do you tell me? Look at the last line, the last page.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that at the time.
Okay.
Or obviously I wouldn't have signed off on it.
Sure. So if, obviously that's a false statement, right? Because we just reviewed where he did complain of
We
an
just
issue.
reviewed the work order of the smoke detector that he reported.
And that was
So-
during the term of his tenancy.
Correct.
Okay. What did you do? What did you do? Because why I'm interested in this is your lawyers filed a motion for summary judgment asking the court to dismiss the case based in part on your deposition, or I'm sorry, based in part on your affidavit here, swearing that there were no work orders. So pertaining to the smoke alarms or carbon monoxide detector. What did you do prior to signing this to investigate that issue to ensure that there wasn't any work orders?
I work with our in-house counsel to gather related documents and review those documents.
Why, I mean, it seems like a pretty standard document that was found about the carbon monoxide detector. Why would it be that that document was not discovered prior to you signing this affidavit?
I don't know. I wouldn't have signed the affidavit.
Do you know why the work order that we just discussed from, was it 7/22? What's the date?
7/6.
7/6.
7/19.
7/19, thank you. The work order that was performed on 7/19/2022. Do you know why that work order was not produced in discovery to plaintiff's first request for production?
No.
And do you know why it was produced after we've taken probably 6 or 7 depositions and now we have these documents?
No.
How hard is it to look for this document, if you know? Or would that be a question for Ms. Texan?
For the work order document,
Correct.
I think we have the list of work orders for this property, and so it's a pretty time-consuming process to have to pull the amount of detail that was pulled with every single work order, and so difficult, as far as how to navigate and to pull the work orders. Not difficult, time-consuming, and is the system as user-friendly as it could be? No. When you're pulling the amount of documentation required for this case and the system, which is lesson, is the system of record, it does not make it easy to have to pull all of the information that we have to pull. I mean, we have evidence here of just printouts on certain tabs. I mean, there are 7 tabs, 8 tabs right here between overview and troubleshooting. So there are 7 tabs for the total list of work orders.
Given the severity of this case, I mean, it's a death case. A young man lost his life, right? Given the severity and that your counsel was asking the court, and is still asking the court to dismiss this case, don't you think that it would be important to make sure that an affidavit is correct before signing it.
Objective form.
Yeah, of course, I don't think anybody intentionally, didn't provide the level of detail that this sort of case would require.
Your counsel mentioned an amended affidavit. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's for the spoliation motion.
Okay.
I think we just got these documents very
Okay.
recently and turned them over to you within days.
Do you know why why there hasn't been an amended affidavit correcting the erroneous testimony as found and as attached to Plaintiff's Exhibit 26?
No.
Were you aware that defense counsel in its motion for summary judgment, in particular, paragraph 9 told the court the following, quote, "At no point during the decedent's tenancy under the original lease or the agreement did the decedent report any issues with the detectors to landlord."
I think that aligns with what we just mentioned here.
Do you know why there hasn't been an amended motion or a clarification with the court correcting this assertion as found in the motion for summary judgment?
No.
Okay, I'm going to show you what I'll attach as Plaintiff's Exhibit 27. And I've highlighted a portion of it. So this is from September 21st, 2015, and it's called a deposit reconciliation form. This was the only form of that type, but obviously it dates back. Are you familiar with this form?
I am.
Okay, what is this?
This is a form that is basically an output of items that are identified as resident responsible items in the budget. And so when a superintendent writes a budget, there's a designation of resident responsible items that are reconciled with the resident's security deposit. So this looks like what that is a deposit reconciliation form. This doesn't specify whether it was something. There's later a decision whether anything identified is actually charged back. I don't see any indication of that here.
So I've highlighted or made it a little larger so it's easier to see, but for batteries, smoke detector, it says test and replace in all detectors, replace as needed. So this would have authorized the technician, if a smoke detector needed to be replaced because it was maybe expired, they could have replaced it, right?
This is an indication that they tested and This looks like batteries. This just looks like batteries. There, I mean, it says battery, smoke detector, and then test and replace all detectors, replace as needed. I think that's a general statement beside that line item. And based on what I can tell here, yeah, these are standard line items. And so that's not necessarily something that the individual associate, in this case the super, is actually going in and noting or changing.
Let me ask you this. If on the work order only a battery is allowed, does that mean that even if a smoke detector is expired, that they're required just to change the battery because that's what it says on the work order?
Well, residents are responsible for changing batteries. I don't know that there's a line item for a work order as the scripting and how it comes in. A problem code is what we call it, that specifies batteries. I would have to verify that.
Sure. My question is this, though. Maybe you didn't understand my question. Or maybe I didn't ask it really well. If there's like a list of things that need to be done, and Invitation Homes says, hey, replace the batteries, replace the batteries in the smoke detectors. If the smoke detector is expired, do they disregard that and still replace the battery because that's what's on the work order? Or do you require them to replace the smoke detector?
What time period are you talking about?
2021 and above.
I mean, we're going to investigate. If a resident calls in a work order, they're going to answer a series of questions that is going to script a certain service category, problem code, and they have to enter additional details. And we're going to investigate and take the action based on the details that are provided. So in this scenario, if we determine we get out there, you know, batteries need to be replaced, we've inspected all the smoke detectors, equipment is functional, we may replace the batteries. If we've made a determination that the equipment is defective and it needs to be replaced, we would replace the equipment.
Are you familiar with, this might go back to your college days, but proactive versus reactive property management?
I'm aware of the definition of proactive versus reactive.
Sure. So like on a
Yeah.
plane,
Yeah.
you do proactive, right?
Yeah.
You don't wait until the engine blows. There's certain things that you do to the engine to
Right.
make sure that there's not a failure, right?
Right.
A lot of people, I'm not saying it's right, but a lot of people operate cars until failure. You know, maybe they don't do some preventative maintenance and they operate the car until failure. In terms of smoke alarms, was the policy for Invitation Homes, Realty, and THR Property Management, was it a proactive policy or reactive policy?
It's a combination of both. I think when you look at our ProCare policy, it's a proactive maintenance program. And I believe it even terms it as such in the policy. We would have to verify that. And then any additional one-off sort of work orders that are called in are termed reactive work orders because that's something that in many cases the resident is reporting and we're responding to that reactively after they report it.
Wouldn't a proactive policy be that you check the dates and instead of operating smoke detectors to failure, you replace the smoke detectors when they're recommended to be replaced every 10 years?
Yeah, I think the details of the policy are outlined in the policy. I think ProCare is a proactive maintenance program. We create those ProCare work orders, which is why it's proactive for us to get out at a certain cadence, 45 days, 6 months, every 6 months after that. And then the reactive are the individual work orders that are called in through, you know, residents reporting potential issues.
Wouldn't you agree with me that the policy for, or the actual implementation of the policy for 3828 Trenton Lane, given how many inspections there were, how many turns there were, and the age of the smoke detectors dating back to 2004 and never being changed, and that nothing was really done with the smoke detectors in terms of replacement until Mr. Rhodes actually reported it in 2022, that the conduct of Invitation Homes and THR Property Management during their ownership and management of this property has been reactive, not proactive.
Check the form.
I think it's been both.
Why?
Because we have both types of work orders. We have reactive and proactive. I explained the ProCare process, and that's a proactive maintenance program. And then the one-off work orders in between, those are reactive, and I believe they're even labeled reactive work orders.
Wouldn't a proactive policy resulted in the changing out of these smoke detectors that are dated 2004, October 4th?
Check the form.
Potentially, if we determine that those need to be replaced through our inspections.
We've been going about an hour. Why don't we take a break?
Sure.
Going off the record, the time is 1:56 PM.